Going to Cuba was very interesting because they have a very different approach to health and healthcare and families. They're very much still surrounded by their family, different than in the United States where we have kind of family members all over the country. In Cuba, most of the family stays around the same community, often in the same house. So the roles for family members, mothers and fathers, are more traditional than we might have found here, and the support that families get from each other is stronger than we have typically in the United States. I always have been interested in learning how other cultures deal with health and how they deal in particular, again as a pediatrician, how they deal with children and families, because societies are made up of families, right? That kind of forms the bedrock of the society. So when you can understand how a culture deals with a family and includes a family in their decisions, you understand more about that culture. And so Cuba in particular was very interesting to me, partly because the separation from the United States and also because of the real wonderful outcomes that are reported for families in Cuba. For example, the infant mortality rate, the maternal mortality rates are all at the same level as most of the developing countries, yet with much fewer resources available to them. When you know your country, you only know one country. You don't know what other ways of life might actually work in other countries and be thriving. It actually could possibly be doing as well or better than your own country in the way that you do things. So I think international collaboration and just understanding the ways that other cultures do things is essential to academics, because we deal with ideas and new ways of thinking about things. And there are countries out there that are doing things differently that we could learn from them and then bring that home. I was very impressed in Cuba with how well they keep track of all of the information that they provide, that they really have at every stop, at every step, they're collecting statistics and collecting information on the population that they're serving. And I think that's the start to understand the health problems of your population. The next question then is, when you collect that information, what's the quality of the information that you're collecting, and how do you then move that into policy, and how do you make changes to improve the health of the people? And I think Cuba's very far in that direction. Cuba was very interesting because they were a group of people who were doing what they were doing and were happy to share that information with us. They weren't looking for us to show them the right way. They have the way that they're doing it. They've been doing it for years and years. They train many of the doctors around the world, particularly from Latin and South America and Africa, come to Cuba for training. So while we may think of them in one way, it actually is more of a partnership of equals. They do certain things a certain way. We can learn a lot from them. I'm sure they could learn from what we do as well, but what the resources that we have in the healthcare system are very different than what they have and what they're working with. So I think we could actually learn a lot more from them. I think that a trip to Cuba for a faculty member is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take what we know about society and culture and turn it on its head and see what shakes out. You get this unbelievable experience and this unbelievable wake-up to a different way of doing things. And to me, that's one of the best values for the money of having our Northwestern faculty experience Cuba in some way. You'll find new ways of researching something, new ways to interact with patients, new ways to think about healthcare policy that you never thought of because you didn't think it could happen. And yet you just go to Cuba and it's happening there.